Hi, Sarah. We're continuing our conversation from the other side of the world. And I just wanted to explore a few of the senses that aren't that common. And yet, if we consider them, it's amazing what we can discover. So I was working with a woman and she over the internet, and she was sitting all rugged up. She looked like she must have been in the snow country, and she said she even had Ugg boots on. But in fact, it was a hot day where she was. And I said to her, "What's happening for you? Explore your sense of temperature right now. What's going on?" And she said, "Well, I just feel very, very cold." And I said, "Well, just be with that for a moment and see what emerges." And what did emerge was memories of, well, whether it was an actual memory or a story that she remembered being told, that when she was born, she was a caesarean birth and was put into a humi crib. And so she has this memory of being very cold at birth, that there wasn't warmth, it was very cold, and that her early days were almost like being in a dungeon, that cold,
Right.
And so it brought up for her those memories, and then brought up for her how she needed to nurture herself more and give herself the warmth and love that she felt she didn't experience then, but was still coming up through her body by her temperature. Her body was telling her, "I still need warmth. I'm still cold."
Right.
And so when we explore different senses beyond just the 5 that are common, we can have great, what I call sensites, not just insights that can change what's happening for us. So have you got a story about something with one of your people that you work with, of a sense that's not a very common, but it was an entry into something else?
For sure. No, and that's a great example. That's a great example. First of all, we know when we talk about memory, we talk about the body remembering. So, again, if you have a belief system that, we can't remember birth and so on, that's fine. That's not my discussion. My discussion is, we have a body that remembers. Things happen, and we remember a sensation. And later on, if we're able to make connections or give it a metaphorical framework that then is meaningful to us, that's great. So I worked with a woman who had just divorced, very, very, very traumatic divorce. And she felt, a very young woman that felt on top of the world, in control, 2 young daughters, career, husband, everything, good family. And then the rug was literally pulled from under her feet. And I say that specifically because it was her sense of place, balance, and space. That's what we worked through. I mean, to get to the point where she was able to say that I felt like the rug was pulled from under my feet, it took a while. But that's where it all came from. She had a sensory profile, so to speak, of having her feet firmly planted on the ground and feet balanced. So we have proprioception, that gives us a sense of space, where we are in the world, how far I am from you, how far I am from an object. That's why we don't bump into things or bump into people. And often we talk in different cultures about personal space and boundaries. That's proprioception. Then there's vestibular, which is always interesting because our sense of balance is in our ear, which is our sensory organ for hearing. And I'd love to explore that more in the future about what's the connection between hearing and balance. But that's for another discussion.
Okay.
But for her, her sense of balance. So what was happening? She started getting ear infections. And she was very frustrated. And she said, I never got sick in my life. And I don't know why I'm having these ear infections. And I'm feeling dizzy and so on and so forth. To make a long story short, when we were able to work through, and we did it through guided imagery, where I had her imagine a house. And she listened to music and created this image of the house in detail. The house represented the space, what she felt in terms of herself in space. And then the ear infection represented her sense of balance, that it was being compromised. This was it. When things came together, when she was able to reframe, she was able to literally go through exercises of re-experiencing her space and regaining her balance. She was able to do the work she needed to come out of the trauma of the divorce.
Yeah. That is a wonderfully inspiring story. Great work, Sara. Really good work.
Well, it's not my work, it's their work. That's why I'm always privileged.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Well, in our next conversation, let's follow up with that, the connection between balance and hearing. Okay.
Great.